it's tougher to recover. You see that? Or if he gets a little bit of space inside and back, easier shot opportunity for him. But if I can always maintain this arm's distance, I'm always in play to stay in front of him and possibly get a steal, block the shot, and test it. And even if I don't get my hand on the basketball every time, at least it makes him think twice. And I can get my hand possibly on the back on the shot. It's gonna at least give him that little thought when he's trying to shoot, and it might throw his rhythm off, throw off his focus. So the key with that all comes down right here to my legs and my feet. I gotta move those feet to keep that measuring stick, is what I like to call it, of that arm distance. So if I can maintain that with my feet, I'm always in position to have plays on the basketball. It's when I start trying to maintain that arm's distance without my chest being between my knees. Let's say he comes over here and I'm arm's distance, right? But it's because I'm leaning. I'm now off balance. It's hard for me to move. I can easily go through that. But if I'm arm's distance with my feet, he's not just gonna go right through me, or it's gonna be a foul, right? And if I keep that arm's distance, I'm also ready to move and react counter move. I'm cutting off that angle better. I'm ready to react. I can make better plays at the basket. As far as stance goes, you'll see a lot of players play different ways. Some like to get a really wide base here, so I can kind of cut off angles for his feet. So gonna always be trying to play an angle to get outside of my feet if he's trying to drive, right? And if I'm here, I'm a little more narrow, and he tries to just take a baby step. I mean, even without me taking a step, he's already got an angle, right? But if I can get out here, now he's got to take a wider step. I can still get at that, or he's going to have to take a step with that foot first out to start to create that angle. So he's got to work a little harder just to get those angles. Other defenders, I do this a lot, they bend the knees a little less, but they play with more of a flat back position. And what that does is, you notice my reach here versus my reach here. I can get into a space more for more steals. And what you're relying now on is more your glutes and your hamstrings, and for pushing off, versus here we're using more of our knees. It's just kind of a comfortability thing. I think it's good to have both. Here's another big key. I want to be more offensive on defense, if that makes sense. Not offensive in the regards of I'm gonna say offensive things, but some people do, they talk trash. And also not in regards of I'm gonna be offensive as aggressive like that, like slapping his arms and stuff, but I do wanna initiate. Big rule of thumb is whoever initiates is in control. So if he initiates a jab step, now he's in control. If I'm here and he initiates a little bump into me, he is now in control. I want to be the one initiating. Now, with contact, we got to be a little more careful on defense because offense usually gets the call. You know, they'll let offense be physical, defense not so much. But I can get up in his space and take this away. I can also initiate by poking at the basketball. But again, keep in mind what we talked about just a bit ago. I got to keep my feet with that measuring stick, and I don't want to reach out here to get to the basketball. So this comes first, the feet, and staying that arm's distance in between his midline and the hoop. Midline, me, hoop should be in a straight line. Move over here, should be a straight line. Within that, I can poke at the basketball. That's where I can start to be more offensive on defense. And if he's standing still, it's even easier. I kind of have an idea of where the basketball is going to be. So as he starts moving, it's a little bit harder for me to tell when he's going to stop, when he's going to go, where the ball is going to be, because there's a lot more variability with where it's going to be in space versus when his feet are still, there's less of variability. So if I can keep him in one space by getting my legs wide, cutting off angles, now it gives me more options to the basketball. I'm more on offense than him there, even though he's technically on offense. So one of the biggest things I can do to be more offensive on defense, especially if I know he's a righty, is try to always favor this right shoulder a little more. Now I gotta be careful with this. So if I'm here and he attacks here, he's now got an angle to basically get behind me. I'm cooked. I either have to do this, which is really too quickly, or if he attacks here, I gotta do that, which is even worse. So if I'm gonna come forward more, favor that right, I also have to make sure I'm cutting this angle off with my foot. Now he can't get around that foot unless he takes a step out, and if he does that, I gotta get back out here, and if he steps back in, I'm right here. So I'm trying to get a little closer than that arm's distance. This hand would be arm's distance, his left, so I can poke at it. But more than anything, what I'm trying to do is take away this right arm. In fact, what you'll see some guys do, like Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart, and Kobe Bryant used to do this, they'll literally get all the way up here. So now he's got no angle to step through here. And if he starts dribbling with the left hand, try to get to that right hand. See how much harder that is? He's got to pull it back. Or if he tries to cross over this way towards the hoop, it's a lot harder to use that arm when I'm up there, right? And it's not going to be called a foul as long as I'm kind of glued here the whole time. It's if I'm out here and I start pushing that arm, that's where the call is going to happen. But if I have position here, I have the right to that space. So I can do that with my chest. I can do that with my arm a little bit. Be careful that I'm not being too obvious about pinning it. But it puts him in a position where I've taken that away. I'm more offensive. He's got to rely more on that left hand, which is his weak hand. And if he wants to come back to that strong hand, it's harder. Plus, I know if he's going to shoot, which hands are going to come to. That right hand is here to contest. I don't have to worry about covering this as much. Once we get into the paint a little more, now I got to kind of come for both if he's good with both hands, which a lot of players aren't. And then as far as getting steals goes, there's kind of a couple main areas. So if he's kind of floating the dribble around, it's usually going to get up to about that hip height, and that I know where I can get to. Even some players that dribble maybe more at that knee height, sometimes I can get in at that there, because that's usually where it's going to hang out the longest, and I can kind of look for that. The other thing is if I know, okay, let's say I've taken away this arm, and I know he's starting to beat me here, I'll wait on the crossover, and I'll try to meet it down low. So basically, once he gets to like the midline between his legs right here, that's where I'm going to kind of wait on it, because I know where it's going to go if I know he has a tendency to want to go right. Most players, they're not going to want to go much more than one, maybe two bounces to that left side, and they're almost always going to come back right, and you're going to be waiting.
I transferred from a community college. I have as many credits to finish at WG. It gave me that flexibility to be able to do my courses whenever.
Learn more now.
What's up, guys? This is Ryan Jones of I Love Basketball TV, the #1 YouTube channel to help you guys improve your game. And today we're going to give you a complete beginner's guide to become an elite shooter. So this video is both for young hoopers who are learning how to shoot for the very first time, as well as older hoopers who are looking to just improve their shot form and become an elite shooter. So I am a lefty, but this video is going to be flipped so it makes sense for the right-handed player. So to start off, I'm going to talk about probably the most overlooked but the most important part of your shot, which is going to be your base and your feet. In order to be a great shooter, we got to have really good balance. So we're going to start about shoulder width apart with our base, and then whenever your strong hand is, you want that foot and that toe slightly in front of the other foot. And that leads me to the first big mistake that I see with really young players. Instead of having their strong foot in front, they bring it back here, and now they turn and throw that ball and twist those shoulders, which is a big no-no. So that base is going to control whether or not you're square with your shoulders. So you can be a 10-toe shooter, where all 10 toes are toward the rim. I'm pretty square here. Or you could be slightly tilted, but the way you want to tilt is you want your shooting strong hand shoulder to be a little more angled toward the rim, not completely, but straight on or just a little bit. So the next key to being a great shooter that can't be overlooked is going to be your hand placement and having good control with that shooting hand. So a lot of people have heard about the fingertip shooting. We don't need to be here like this with the ball, but we definitely want to spread those fingers, because if I'm too flat here, I got that ball in my palm, I don't have any control of that ball. So let's spread those fingers out, use those fingertips as well as these finger pads here. And now when I have it here, I have control of this ball, and I can flick it and push it where I want it to go. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our I Love Basketball TV content. Now for our hand placement, we want the ball to come off of these two fingers, our middle and our index finger. So in order to do that, I like to grab the ball here, find that needle hole, and we're either going to split with those two fingers, or we're going to put your pointer finger right on the middle of the ball. I like to do pointer finger, so I'll demonstrate it that way. Now I spread my hand out. As far as your guide hand, we don't want that ball, we don't want our hand directly on the side of the ball, because then I'm a little more influence to push with that thumb, and I don't have great control here. So I'm going to slip it down just a little bit, not in front like this, but just enough where I have good control here. And then this is going to be my hand placement. The guide hand is going to be our second biggest and most common mistake for young players. So when you're really young and you're not strong enough yet, these hands creep closer together, and then you're going to push that ball with two hands, and that habit can stay with you even as you get older, where you still have an excessive thumb flick and somewhat of a two-handed shot. So we don't want that many factors that could change the direction of the ball when it comes off our hand. We want to be very consistent. This guide hand is supposed to truly be a guide for the ball. So what I mean by that is when I bring the ball up here, it's really just helping me keep this ball centered and nice and stable for my shooting hand until it could take over and finish that shot with the flick of my wrist. So I don't want to take this hand off too early where I'm pushing really solely one-handed, but I definitely don't want to have influence with my offhand changing my shot. So I get my nice offhand placement here, and as I bring the ball up, I keep it on all the way until that wrist starts to fall through and those fingers peel off. And then when you go ahead and fall through, you should end up with a nice hand in the cookie jar here with your shooting hand, and your offhand should stay right here, not opening up toward the basket. Nice and simple. This next tip is not talked about enough, and it could be one of the main reasons that you're really struggling to shoot the ball. So that's gonna be having a loaded wrist. Now I'll explain what I mean. For all great shooters, you're gonna get to this point here where you're ready to release the ball, and your hand is nice underneath the ball, so that way you can push through that elbow and keep that ball straight. So when I grab the ball here, I don't want to have a lazy wrist, because now when I bring the ball up, I'm not going to be underneath it. So we want to go ahead and load that wrist. So I'll start the ball here, roll that ball up. Now I have a nice loaded wrist. I put my guide hand on it, and as I bring the ball up here, my wrist angle doesn't change at all. So now when I go up to release the ball, I'm perfectly underneath the ball, and I can flick that ball straight. Before I get into the next tip for building that elite shot, make sure you go ahead and click that link in the pinned comment down below, and we'll send you guys a free scoring workout. Now, it's very important to understand what you're aiming for and having the proper arc so that ball goes in at a higher percentage. So some players want to shoot more bank shots. Now, this is great if I'm off on the side here a little bit, but if I'm not in that perfect spot to go glass, especially if I'm in the front, I want to go all net as much as possible. So I'm not going to aim back rim. I'm not going to aim backboard. I'm actually going to do what my coach, Coach Scott, told me when I was little. We're going to try to go up and over the front of the rim from whatever angle I'm at. In order to have that good arc and be up and over the front rim, we really want to avoid just pushing the ball straight at the rim and having this low follow through. So when I fall through here, I want that elbow to be above my eyebrow. If I'm too straight at the basket here, I'm going to have a very flat shot, and it's going to be very hard to make it without that ball hitting the back rim first. So let's be here, thinking up and over that front rim. I fall through, and hold that fall through so the ball goes through the basket. One thing that's going to allow you to shoot that ball straight a lot more consistent is having a consistent shot path. So your shot path is going to be where you gather the ball to where your set point is, all the way to your fall through here. So this is my shot path. I don't want to bring that ball from across my body. It's going to be really inconsistent. But the best shooters that you'll see, they're either going to be centered with the ball, and then when they come up, it's going to get to their strong hand eyebrow, or they can be already on this hip. That way that ball moves straight up that path. And that's what I would recommend, because I think that's going to be the most consistent, especially if you build it from a young age. So you can start with your rollout drill here. That'll help for both your loaded wrist, but also for your shot path. So I keep it on my strong hand side, put it on my leg, roll it up here, put my guide hand on. And now when I go up to shoot, that ball's going to go from my hip to the chest to that eyebrow, and then follow straight through with that consistent shot line.